that nobody wants to respond to me.
Okay, your slide is up now, sir.
Yeah, I can see it. Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. But my colleagues on the call are not responding to me. I don't know, maybe they don't like my face. Okay.
Hello, Inyelua. Sorry, Inyelua, are you there?
Please,
Ruth, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay, it's fine. So now we are sure that at least people are on the call. So without wasting so much time, I think we just start anyway. Digital transformation is not really new. It has been with us, but the emphasis has been placed on it in recent times. And that's one of the reasons why I also appreciate P4PE Limited for bringing up such a topic in a time like this, especially during a global pandemic, where when we talk about VUCA, we talk about the volatility in the world, we talk about the uncertainty, we talk about the complexities in business and in the world at large, and the ambiguity that makes up the VUCA buzzword these days. The COVID-19 has actually brought the reality to us. I mean, the professionals on the call will bear me witness that before now, you probably have been talking about remote working, future of work, the dynamics of the future of work, and all of those things to your executives before now. And they probably have told you, HR, forget that thing. Nigeria is not ready for it. Nigeria is not ripe enough, and things like that. And COVID-19 came, and suddenly, Oga is not coming to the office. Suddenly, the boss agrees that we can work effectively from home, right? Suddenly, we are putting technologies, we are putting processes in place to facilitate remote working. At least many organizations actually did that between March ending and early May of 2020. Some organizations came back like almost immediately, and then probably someone tested positive for the virus in the office and they had to lock down again and go back home. What I'm saying in essence is that COVID-19 has brought us 10 years closer, if I must use that. Yeah, it has brought us 10 years closer. So what we're anticipating to achieve in 2030, 2031, we actually saw them happening right before our faces in the year 2020 and 2021. Funnily enough, many organizations are not prepared for it. And that is why in the next slide, I put a quote by Charles Darwin. Chris, can we go to the next slide? A quote from Charles Darwin, which says, "It is not the strongest of species that survives. It is not the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change." So very many organizations, very many professionals were not adaptable to change. And we saw that in 2020. Many people started coming up with a facade business continuity plan because this hit badly. And many organizations were not ready for it. We've been preaching future of work since about 2015. We've been talking about the dynamics of the future of work. We'll be talking about robotics and artificial intelligence. And business leaders, especially in this part of the world, have said Nigeria is not ripe for it. We are not ready for it. It is too expensive. This and that and that and that. I mean, when we talk about digital technologies in the workplace, we only think about, okay, so take for instance, for your HR unit, you talk about your leave management system, and all of those things. But right now, I mean, it has dawned on us that change has happened. And whoever is agile enough, flexible enough, and adaptable enough to change are the species, are the organizations that will survive this pandemic. I mean, last year, many organizations shut down. Unemployment rates in the US, for instance, I think US, they had about 1 point something percent unemployment rate at the beginning of the year. And immediately COVID struck. I mean, 3-4 weeks into COVID, the numbers skyrocketed. I was watching CNN 2 days ago, and I realized that in the United States of America, over 500,000 people have lost their lives to COVID. They have about 40 million cases in the, 30 million cases in the country, which represents about 10% of the total population of the United States, which means 1 in 10 people, as it were, is positive to COVID-19 or has tested positive to COVID-19. What does that tell us? What it tells us is that unprecedented times are here, and it is only the people who can foresee change or who are adaptable to change will survive. And that is what is driving us towards digital transformation today, especially as it concerns the human resource function of different organizations. So when we are talking about HR digital transformation, what exactly are we talking about? When you look at the outline in the next slide, you'll see we are going to talk about what digital transformation is, HR digital transformation now, the need to transform your HR. Why do we need to transform HR? What is the business case around digital transformation for HR? What are the dimensions of HR digital transformation? What are the things we need to focus on in our transformational journey? How do we implement a digital transformation project within our organization? I mean, and when we get there, I'll tell us about skills. What IBM will do, for instance, is not what Emmanuel Abegunde and Sons Limited, Nigeria Limited, importer and exporter, and general merchandise will do, right? What I will do is not what Standard Chartered banks will do. So depending on the level of the organization, you are going to craft a digital transformation framework for your organization that is suitable. And finally, we'll talk about the pitfalls to watch out for in your digital transformation journey. So what exactly is digital transformation as a whole? When we talk about digital transformation, what is digital transformation? Admin, please go back to the previous slide. I would like to ask 1 or 2 persons to tell us what they understand by digital transformation. Anybody on the call? Anyone? Probably I'll have to call names. If someone can reach out to Joe cannot hear us because he has not connected his audio. So if someone can reach out to him to help him to achieve that, he won't be able to hear us, only his video is connected. So Ruth, can you please tell us what you understand by digital transformation? When you hear digital transformation, what comes to mind? Hi, Ruth. Inyoluwa, do you want to try? I mean, it's not compulsory you mute. You can just put it on the chat platform. What I just want to have an idea, of what you think about digital transformation. When you hear digital transformation, say your executive director calls you and say, we need to embark on a digital transformation project. What immediately comes to mind? Gloria, please, can you help check if people are really on this call? Because I think I'm talking to myself right now.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, Joe, I can hear you.
Hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
Wonderful. To my best of knowledge, digital transformation is when you incorporate digital technology into all your operations, and that will require you to transform all the processes and procedures, because while you change this, you will need to review your policies and procedures and embed it in the tools that you'll be using. So to cut it short, digital transformation is a way of applying tools to perform those operations which were initially performed by humans, which were probably slow, or could be biased, or could lead to some level of bureaucracy. So transforming your product into digital, for example, HRIS is a way of digitalizing your product in HR. It's an information system. Yeah. For example, ATS is another example that I can say for recruitment, shortlisting, assessment. And so if you want to transform your whole process and making it digital such that you reduce paperwork, digital transformation is the way to go.
Thank you. Absolutely, Joe. I mean, I think I should just step down and facilitate the class. that was fantastic, impressive. Thank you. Okay, so without wasting much of our time, yeah, Ruth, thank you. I can see your message when you digitize your products. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we can move to the next slide now. So that we can see what we have on the slide. What is digital transformation? Just like Joe says, digital transformation is the process of using digital technologies to create new or modify existing business processes. So if you have a business process, for instance, let's say you look at your supply chain process and you sort of, how can I digitize my supply chain process? So you already have an existing process. You have a way to move your products, from the factory into the warehouse. You have a way in which you arrange and tag your goods in the warehouse. And when orders come in, you have a way of moving them to warehouse to the market, from the warehouse to the market, and there's a way you track your products, you track your orders and things like that. But you thought, okay, there is so much seams around this and you want to make it seamless, you want to digitize the process, you want to eliminate human error. That is what we are talking about in terms of a modifying existing process, or you are creating a new process entirely. So for instance, you look at, okay, before now I had a physical shop in my estate. I have another one in Adeniji, then I have another one somewhere in Mushin. But I mean, this is a COVID-19 period. I'm paying so much rent and I'm not getting as much returns. I want to digitize my entire operations. You can move to e-commerce, for instance, and close down your physical shops. That is a sort of digital transformation for your business. So you can look at it in line of process, in terms of your culture, or in terms of your customer experience, in order to meet changing business and market requirements. And this is a definition I got from Salesforce, from a publication they did last year. So when we now drill it down to HR transformation using the above definition, we can say that HR digital transformation is the process of using digital HR technologies to create new or to modify existing HR processes, to facilitate culture and employee experience in order to meet changing talent requirements. You would agree with me that talent requirements actually changed, sort of changed last year and this year. I mean, you want to recruit employees and employees are making demands, candidates are making demands that, are you working remotely or you're working physically? Some are saying, I want a blend of remote work and on-site work. I want to be able to have the blend of the two. So I probably want to do 3 days remotely, 2 days on site. These are realities that have come before us. These are realities that we roll with day in, day out since 2020 and now. Now, before now, people sort of wanted that, but not many people have the audacity to demand that. But the changing requirements from the talent management perspectives have made people to come say, oh, if you've considered me a talent and you want me to work in your organization, then these are my own requirements. These are my terms and conditions before I agree to work with you. Some say, I want to work fully remotely. What kind of digital tools are you going to be providing? I mean, before now, it is difficult for many organizations to implement an overtime pay system, for instance, right? But then with COVID-19 and remote working perspective, we are now talking about people not wanting to work without a work from home allowance. And then companies are saying, hey, I give you transport allowance. So the transport allowance element in your salary can then replace whatever you call work from home allowance. What I'm saying in essence is that work from home, remote working has come to change a lot of things. There are a lot of dynamics around it. There are a lot of new demands. There are a lot of new requirements. The way we do performance management has changed. The way and manner in which we conduct our talent acquisition process has changed, right? The way and manner in which we do our interviews have changed. Probably before now, it is not possible in your organization that you do e-interviews. For instance, you want to use Skype, you want to use Zoom or Google Hangouts or Microsoft Teams and all those digital tools. People must come from Kaduna to your office in Lagos for them to meet with you. You don't even mind to pay their flight ticket, but you must see them. But now, digital technologies have made it easy for us such that you can hire someone in South Africa, you can stay in the comfort of your home, not even your office now in Nigeria, conduct a seamless interview, make an hiring request, conduct interview, offer employment, do your documentations and all that you have to do without leaving the comfort of your kitchen or your dining or your home office. It has become so seamless thanks to COVID-19 and thanks to digital technologies that are available. So organizations now can then use all of these tools to better their processes, to define employee experience, and to look at future forward HR practices. If you can permit me to use that word. And that is what digital transformation is. How can we move from the old ways of thinking? How can we move from the old ways of doing things into new ways of thinking, into new ways of offering HR products? So what are the old ways? I mean, before now, like I said, you must see people for an interview, you do your medicals, they must present themselves, and then they come, you open a new file for them, then you make several photocopies, and then you keep your files and everything. But I mean, we made a lot of hirings between April and May, even in the midst of a pandemic, organizations were still hiring because some companies actually made more money, for instance, during the pandemic because of their kind of business. So they had to hire, and they were not allowed to go out physically because there was a lockdown, and they were able to do all of this in the comfort of their different homes. They were able to do panel interviews and all of those. So what we are saying in essence is that with digital transformation, with digital technologies being available, we can move away from the old ways of working. We can move away from the old ways of doing things into new ways of working. Let me cite an example. I changed jobs this year, January precisely. But then before now, my boss would be like, HR, we need to bring people to the office, blah, 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 blah. And then when I told him that I was moving, he was actually angry. He thought because we were working remotely, I had enough time to start attending interviews. And I said, no. I mean, while we were working physically, if I wanted to go for an interview, I would go. I mean, I went for several interviews before the pandemic struck, and you didn't know about them. So it is not remote working. As a matter of fact, my new job, I did 3 levels of interview, and all levels were online using Google Hangouts. Not only that, till now, I have not met up to 20% of my employees physically. We've not had any physical interaction. We've been having online interaction facilitated by digital technologies, right? I've never seen my boss. I could say I know what she looks like because I've had video calls with her. I've not seen my MDs. I partner with 2 MDs, one in West Africa, one in East Africa. I've not seen them. Of course, I know what they look like because I've had video calls with them. All right. But do I know their height? Do I know? I don't know all those details. But we have very good working relationship. It's been 4 months now, and it's been fantastic. We've done quite a lot of projects. We've executed a lot of projects without physical interaction. I'm currently in the office today, and I had to come because I'm having some kind of epileptic internet at home, plus my laptop crashed and I needed to work with another laptop. So I had to come in physically to the office today. Our office can seat 120 people conveniently, but only 3 or 4 of us are currently in the office today. So many things have changed, and then organizations will be like, okay, so I can save money from rent, I can save money from internet facility, I can save money from diesel, and still achieve the optimal performance that I need for my business to operate and survive. Why? Because there is something called digital technology that we can use to better our processes and deliver stakeholder value. Next slide, please. So, I mean, why do we need digital transformation? What are the reasons? What are the business cases for digital transformation? Before we go there, let me quickly talk about HR 3.0. Josh Bersin of Josh Bersin Academy, in conjunction with IBM, ran a survey last year, 2020, and then they came up with this particular figure that you have on the screen. And they said that currently the level we are, and that many organizations are going now, is HR 3.0. So I have a friend in IBM, and he was telling me he's their global digital learning manager. He told me that the last time he set his foot in the office was 3rd of March 2020. Since then, he's not been to the office. Many people have not been to the office since the lockdown started last year. UK is still currently on lockdown, and they are deliberating on easing it little by little. Many countries in Europe are still on lockdown. United States is recording very high rates of infection, and many things have changed, which means, like I said earlier with Charles Darwin quote, that organizations that are not able to adapt to this change will not survive. So if your HR organization cannot adapt to the HR 3.0 framework, to the HR 3.0 mindset, to the HR 3.0 systems thinking, then the HR organization will not be able to provide adequate support for the business. And if we are not able to provide support, we are not able to provide strategic support to the business, then we are seen as not delivering value. And then they start considering, oh, probably we need to bring a consultant to come transform our entire HR department. I could remember a few years ago, I think 5-6 years ago, Union Bank went through an HR transformation project. And one of the consultants on the project told me that they had about 50 people in the department at the time that the transformation was going on. However, by the time they were done with the transformation project, over 50% of those people were not needed, because we have tools, we have technological tools that could effectively do what they were doing, and we do it better with speed without error. And that is one of the things that artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning have brought to us in this time and age, whereby you are able to, study trends and run predictive analytics. You moving away from the descriptive analytics to say that this and this and this are things that will happen in the future. And so I'm no longer reporting employee gender, I'm no longer reporting all of those things, but I can use artificial intelligence to report real-time attrition in the future. I can use artificial intelligence to report real-time, to predict real-time the talent issues that the company may have or may face in the near future. I can use big data. I can crunch data and be able to torture the data enough for it to give me insight into where the business direction is, the business is leading in the next few years, in the next, say, 3 to 5 years. And then we can say, let's redesign our strategy, let's redesign our processes in order for us to wait for the future so that we are not latecomers when the future finally arrives. There are many companies that were not shaking when COVID-19 came. I could remember Sterling Bank in Nigeria. They were already implementing a remote work as a response to Lagos state government banning Okadas in Nigeria, in Lagos. So when COVID-19 came, it became seamless for them because they were already doing it. And these are the things that we are talking about. How can you move from HR 1.0, which is the industrial HR, to HR 3.0? How can you move from HR 2.0? Many organizations are still on HR 2.0. Now, let's quickly look at the key focus and things around these different levels of the human resource evolution. HR 1.0, the key focus of HR 1.0 is compliance. Compliance, administration, design, administration, design, programs, job creation, and all of those. You want to ensure that you are complying with your regulatory requirements. You want to process your ITF, you want to process your NSITF, you want to do this, you want to do that. And then those are the things that you focus upon. Administration, you are doing your payroll administration, you do your leave administration, and then you are just fine. Those are the things that were the focus. Those were the key performance indicators for your HR system at that point in time. And then you move to HR 2.0, where you start thinking about process improvement, you start thinking about standardization, employee self-services, which are fantastic, which are interesting, employee shared services. And I tell you, very many organizations are still on HR 2.0. We are still talking about process excellence. Let's employ Six Sigma. Let's employ the Kaizen, to improve our processes. Let's remove the seams. Let's bring agile, and things like that, which is fantastic, right? But what we are saying is that organizations that win are moving from that perspective or from that way of working and thinking to a newer way of working where you prioritize employee experience. You invest in cognitive technologies. You are thinking about your learning and development in a different way. You are creating personalized services for different categories of employees within your system. You are transparent in your dealings. You redesign your compensation system, you provide for equity, and you are thinking about how to achieve the best employee experience. Now, let me say something so as to create a balance. The advent of HR 3.0 does not mean that HR 1.0 and 2.0 are useless. Because if you are talking about employee experience, cognitive skills, personalized employee products, and things like that, that doesn't mean that you will not do your compliance. That doesn't mean you will not pay your pensions, your NSITF, you process your payroll and things like that. Of course, what we are saying in essence is that all the new processes and frameworks are building to the new. Okay, they are building, pardon me, upon the old. So when we talk about employee experience, there is nothing like employee experience without good rewards packages on ground. You cannot talk about a good employee experience when you are not sound with your payroll administration, for instance. So the new is not an elimination of the old. The new is just a build up on the old. The old lays a foundation, and then the digital HR, which is HR 3.0, actually comes to standardize, to put better practice, to put seamlessness in your way in which you deliver your HR services. Let's look at organizations across these levels of evolution. In HR 1.0, we think about functional organizations, HR service centers, and all of that. In HR 2.0, we created centers of excellence, right? And shared services, HR business partnering, and all of those. But in HR 3.0, we are talking about intelligent chatbots. We are talking about pop-up squads. I mean, IBM did something phenomenal, something fantastic a few years ago, and I'll tell you about it. While you're working on your system, something just pops up on your system to say, "Hey Joe, how do you feel today?" And then you have emojis, sad, happy, just there, oh, great, and things like that. You have emojis that you could use to express how you feel. And then you just click on the emoji, then you continue your work. What HR is doing there is to check the pulse of employees, to measure the happiness of employees. Because when your associates or your employees are not happy at work, then the organization cannot perform its duties to its customers. And when you are not able to satisfy your customers, you lose out your market share. So HR comes to partner with the business to measure employees' pulse, to see how employees are feeling, and come up with large data to be able to predict that based on the data that we have gathered, these and these are the focus areas that we need to improve our employee experience so that they can improve our services to our clients. Okay, so that is what we are talking about in terms of the different ways in which you organize your things. What about design? Best practice and benchmarking is the focus of the industrial HR. Process experts in HR 2.0, that's the internet-driven HR. Like I said, that the key focus of HR 2.0 is process improvement, process excellence. So we have process experts. But in HR 3.0, we have design thinkers. You have people that can empathize, you have people that can look at what is not working, and create a new process. You can look at user experience, customer experience, and who are the customers of HR? We are talking about the people that we service, the business that we service. These are the stakeholders, the business that we provide support for, the people that we represent. These are the partners, these are the stakeholders of HR, these are the customers of HR. So how can we employ design thinking, for instance, in designing your learning and development process, your learning and development strategy? So take, for instance, you want to employ a digital tool, a learning management system for your learning and development. You're not only looking at putting courses, modules on your learning management system, but much more than that, you are looking at user experience. So you are looking at UI UX, for instance, employing design thinking, saying, how can I build a fantastic user experience? I was having a conversation with one of the students in our HR academy about 2 weeks ago, and I said, how would you feel that you have a learning management system, and on the learning management system, while you are registering for that learning management system, part of the questions that they asked you is your preferred language, right? So you have your preferred language. They ask you for your best set of colors. What are your best colors? And things like that. How well do you want to be communicated to? Do you want something like cartoons, right? Or do you want a kind of augmented reality and things like that? So that data was gathered, and then you enter into the room for your first course. You clicked on the first module, and you realize that all the modules, is coming to you in the color that you prefer. Your best colors are the colors that are coming up. You said you like animations, and the product is displaying the learning in an animated format. That is user experience. You want to go back again and again to that learning management system. Now, if your organization is a learning organization, you support learning, you invest in employee learning, you see learning as a priority to achieving your strategy, what you have done by creating that kind of product is that you encourage your people to learn as much as possible from your learning management system, and of course, other platforms that you've created. So we are talking about design thinking, user experience. What is the user interface like? Do you consider the people that are going to use this product, or you just design something based on your thinking without running a survey, and then you just dump it on them? The world has moved away from that. That is what we are saying. So in HR 3.0, you of course, you look at your best practice and benchmarking, you look at your process improvement, but much more, you also employ design thinking. And then when we talk about how you take your decisions, how you make your decisions. In industrial HR, it is intuitive. What's your intuition dictates what you do. In the next level of HR 2.0, you talk about data analytics, historical data for your descriptive analytics and all. However, in HR 3.0, we are looking beyond that, right? We are looking at actionable insights based on artificial intelligence. We are looking at predictive analytics. We are looking at something that give insights into the future. Give foresight into the future. Pardon me. You are not only looking at the insights you have gotten, but you are taking proactive steps into the future. You are going ahead to wait for the future. In other words, you have designed strategies because your data has informed you that this is the trend in the past, and this is where the future is going based on this trend. And then you go ahead to design a strategy so that when that future comes, it is not catching you unawares. You are ready for it. That is what we talk about in HR 3.0. You use artificial intelligence, you use internal and external data. You can imagine in Nigeria, if HR professionals can collaborate and go back to the schools, develop the curriculum, and all of those. And we gather both company data, we send it to Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, we gather external data from other countries, from other states, from other schools, we put everything together. We'll be able to predict the behavior of the next generation of workforce. We'll be able to predict the kind of courses that these guys are taking. We'll be able to profile solutions and say that, oh, let us advise on curriculum design in so and so manner, because this is what will benefit the private sector going forward. Because we have data, both internal and external data to work with. And so you are not only dealing with internal data of marital status, state of origin, business unit, primary work location, and all of those things. And those data are fantastic, but much more, you want to predict employee behavior. You want to be able to predict the behavior of people that want to come and work in your organization. You are looking at using AI to drive your succession plan process. Okay, that is what HR 3.0 is all about. And HR 3.0 is all about digital transformation, using digital tools and technologies to drive your HR process. And how do you measure performance? What are the areas you measure in these different levels of evolution? In HR 1.0, you look at job evaluation, you do your performance assessment, you look at your attrition rate. So you report data on your job evaluation. This is the relative worth of this job in relation to this job, which is fantastic. You assess performance and you report performance, right? You look at your attrition rate. Oh, our attrition rate is bad, though. We have 25% this year, which means 1 of every 4 employees left the organization. But how have you helped the organization? How have you helped business leadership, with what you are reporting? In HR 2.0, you look at head count, right? What's my head count per day? What are the competencies? So you are talking about competency modeling, competency framework, competency mapping. You are talking about diversity and inclusion, diversity representation. Oh no, our organization, we've realized that we have 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, and then the northern region actually represents 52% of the workforce, which is not supposed to be so. So let us have a diverse workforce. Let's let every region be equally represented, which is fantastic, which is beautiful. You also look at efficiency metrics, right? And employee engagement. But moving down to HR, or let me say moving up, right, to HR 3.0, you are not only looking at these important things, because like I said, they are important, but much more, you are looking at critical skills for the future. What is going to be the trend of our business in the future? Are we going to do business the same way we are doing it now in the future? Are we going to run business going forward like this in the future? So what are the skills that we need to develop despite business demand, talent requirements in the future? And then you begin to create modules, you begin to create courses, you begin to create mentorship programs to ensure the addressing of these critical skills for the future. You are thinking about your leadership pipeline diversity. So, succession plan framework, right? You are thinking about inclusion and not just diversity, but you are looking at inclusion, inclusivity in your organization. You are looking at your net promoter score. Net promoter score is not only used by salespeople. As human resource professionals, we need to be able to deploy net promoter score. How many of our current employees would be willing to refer their friends and family members to work in the organization? So while sales look at, how many of our customers want to refer other customers to come do business with us, you are also looking at your customers as HR and say, hey, how many people actually want to come and work for our organization? And so you begin to think about great place to work, and things like that, right? How well are you also checking your employees' pulse? Are you deploying pulse surveys periodically? All of these things are important in order for you to give a fantastic employee experience to your people, to the people you are managing. And those are the pillars upon which transformative HR is built, upon which digital HR is built. And before we move to the next slide, I would like to say something that just came to mind, that digital transformation is not about digital. And we need to understand that it is not just about the technologies that we are developing and all of those. You remember from Charles Darwin's quote that I mentioned earlier, Charles Darwin said, it is not the best of species that will survive, but the species that are adaptable to change. Transformation is the key thing in your digital transformation journey. And when you focus your attention on digital and not the transformation, you may lose the essence of transforming your HR process. I don't know if I'm communicating something. It's important. So you are not just looking at your digital tools. Your digital tools are just drivers of what you are trying to achieve. What you are trying to achieve is transformation. You want to transform your project. Okay, so for instance, I'm working on a project currently. We are deploying an HR chatbot in my organization. And so HR chatbot, fantastic. I mean, I can create a lot of data from my chatbot, the user experience and all of those. So we went through the entire process, creating the questions and all of that. So we were going to pick a name for the chatbot, and people started suggesting names. I mean, it's a robot. Yeah, it's a robot. So people started suggesting names. And I challenged the thought of everybody on the committee. And I said, what we have done or what we are doing is that we are trying to create a chatbot such that you see an employee sees that chatbot as his or her HR partner, as if I'm chatting with my HR business partner, right? As an employee. That's the way I want to see the chatbot, not that I'm chatting with one robot, right? So when you come up with names of robots, you already defeat that feeling, because people don't want to talk to robots as it were. They want to talk to people that can feel their emotions. So why not we give our beloved chatbot a name, a human name, so that when people are chatting with this chatbot, they have the feeling that they are chatting with another HRBP that can solve their problems. And that is what we are talking about when we are talking about user experience. What experience do we want our people to get out of it? And it has been successful so far. So we picked a human name and gave it to our chatbot. So we named our chatbot a human name, so that when Ijoma is chatting with the bot, you feel you are talking to Emmanuel. You feel you are talking to Gloria. When Ugochi, when Okechukwu is chatting, you feel you are chatting with your HR business partner. And those are the things that we are talking about. So you don't just design for design's sake, but you design to suit a particular means, to achieve a particular objective within your HR system. That is what we are talking about. So you put your mind on the transformation and not just on the digital, because if your focus is on digital technologies, you do something and you are still operating in the past and not in the future. You are not inclusive, right, in what you are developing. You are not looking at employee experience. You are just doing one of those things that could have been done. Next slide, please. As we talk about the dimensions of digital transformation, what are the things we need to look out for on our transformation journey? What are the focus areas in our transformation journey? Number one thing is your organization strategy. As HR professionals, we are not working in silos. When you set out to digitize your HR system, to transform your HR processes, you are not doing it for doing sake. It's because you want to do it to be able to provide the right support for the future of your organization. So where is the organization headed? What are the 3 years and 5 years strategic plan of the organization? What is the 10-year strategic plan of the organization? So after you have looked at the short, medium, and long-term strategy of the organization, you can then start scaling your transformation products or your transformation project in alignment with the strategy. For instance, I mean, your organization within the next 5 years want to be able to deploy a fully remote system. Within the next 10 years, you want to be able to, within the next 5 years, you want to be able to employ robotic assistants within the organization. As per your strategy, you don't start doing robots for your 3-year plan, because your short-term plan says that you want to be able to do a fully remote process. So what do? You start driving your digital transformation as per HR to say, okay, so can I create a website whereby I can collect employee data? Or if I don't have the budget for it, can I use Google Form for employee data instead of deploying files? Instead of filing system, because we want to be able to work remotely. We don't want to have a physical office anymore. So your strategy, your plan as per HR will be to look at okay, what do we need in the immediate for the business? And then you transform your HR department to suit that immediate need. How can you look at your talent acquisition process and say that I want to digitize my entire talent acquisition process? From job creation, right? From position creation, pardon me, up until onboarding. How can we use virtual reality, right? VR. How can I use it to foster onboarding? How can we use artificial intelligence to predict talent trends for the future? Okay, so those are the things you are looking at, because your focus, the focus of the business for now, is to be able to implement a fully remote system. And then from there, you can then start thinking about your robotics. What are the robot assistants? Should we use virtual robots? Or do we need physical robots? And things like that. So your organization strategy has to, your digital transformation process has to reflect your organization strategy. Next thing is your company structure. What structure do we currently operate with? What is the structure of the HR organization? Are we using centers of excellence? Do we have business partners? What are the reporting lines like? That is an important input into your digital transformation project, because the structure of the organization is going to determine the roadmap of your transformation. Next thing is your culture. I mean, we always say that culture will eat strategy for breakfast. So you need to look at your culture. What are the cultural elements in your organization? What are the beliefs in your organization? What are the different generations of workforce that you have in your organization? All of these things are important, okay? There are cultural elements that can make or mar your transformation project. Then the next thing is the competencies of your personnel. I mean, if you implement a digital transformation and your personnel are not digital savvy, then what are you doing? So you need to be able to look at, okay, what can they do? What is their level? Are you going to have to change these people, or do you have to train them, in order for them to be able to roll with the technology or with the transformation we are trying to deploy? And then finally are the kinds of technologies you are going to choose. And many people normally ask questions on our HR groups, and they ask me personally, that Emmanuel, I want to implement an HR information system in my organization. What can you suggest? Which can you suggest? Oga, what is the aim of your transformation? What exactly do you want your HR information system to be able to do for you? And then at the end of the day, while you are suggesting an SAP, you realize that this guy just wants something that will be able to manage attendance and leave. Okay, and something that can do a little bit of payroll. Okay, so the technology you want to deploy is going to be dependent on the kind of transformation that you want to see in your organization. So are you looking at improving systems thinking within your organization? Are you investing in cognitive practices within your organization? Are you investing in leadership and succession plan within your organization? This will inform the kind of technologies that you are going to deploy. What budget do you have to support this? Okay, I mean, you can't have money for, I don't want to mention names. Let's say Ginosco HR information system, and you are trying to implement an SAP. It's not going to work, because you can't have money for Volkswagen B2 in your account, and you are shopping for Mercedes Benz in the market, except you are using faith, and your digital transformation is no respecter of faith. Okay, so these dimensions are very important dimensions for you to focus on when you want to embark on a digital transformation journey. Then the next slide, please. How do we implement a digital transformation project? What is the roadmap? Like I mentioned earlier, you have to look at your strategy, you have to look at your structure, you have to look at your culture, and all of those. For your digital transformation project to make sense, you need to have it at the back of your mind that you are embarking on a change management journey. And typical of any change management process, people will fight you, for the lack of a better word. Okay, so while you are unfreezing your current state, and you are trying to, create a new state, and you are trying to make the new state to stay, what are the things you need to look out for? Number one is that you need to be able to look at your strategy and build a business case. You need to build a business case, because your digital transformation is likely going to cost money, because you need to buy tools. You need to either buy tools or ask your HR, your tech people, your tech professionals to build products for you, or you may need to employ new set of people to be able to drive the process. So you need a business case for it. And under building your business case, number one thing that you need to do is to define your digital vision. What vision do you have for your digital project? What is your end goal for your digital project? Where are you taking your digital project to? Remember that the vision of your digital project has to be in alignment with the strategy of the organization. Your HR digital project cannot operate outside where your company as a whole is headed. After you've designed your vision, then you need to define your digital strategy. What is your digital strategy? How do you improve employee experience? Okay. What is the roadmap? Where do you want to get to? How do you want to get there? Are you going to have to employ new people? Are you going to have to buy off-the-shelf products? Are you going to implement software as a service? All of those things are important. And then you present your business case, justifying your investments, that this is the ROI we are going to get from implementing this. So if you are talking to your finance, for instance, and you say, I need $10 million to be able to transform my HR process entirely, transform my entire HR architecture. But at the end of the day, this is the percentage in return on investment we are going to be making over the next 6 months, over the next 1 year. This is how it's going to stop attrition. This is how it's going to boost employee productivity to so percentage. And you're able to make a business case for that. So that is the first step, create a business case. The second state is to examine the current state. Like I said, in your change management process, you have to look at the current state. Where are you? What do you currently operate with? Do you currently use paper? Is your process currently manual? There are some HR softwares that are still as manual as anything. Okay, so if your current state is like that, you create a blueprint for your current state. Then you look at your current digital maturity. The people you have in your system, how digital savvy are they? What kind of products, digital products, are you using in your organization? So for instance, there are many organizations today that have servers, but their server is not on cloud. It's a physical server that is kept in their IT room, which means that people cannot actually store anything outside of the office on that server. Okay, so you examine your maturity. However, probably where you are looking at going is to implement an AWS, an Amazon product, right? Amazon cloud service, or you are looking at IBM cloud, Watson cloud service, or you are looking at going to Microsoft or Google services. But what you currently have is a physical server in your IT, your hardware room. You assess your maturity. Can we actually go to this length? Or if we cannot make that kind of quantum leap, what can we do? What are the step-by-step approach we can take to actually get to where we are going? The next thing is to assess your competitors, because you want to look at what your competitors are doing. So what is the digital maturity level of your competitors? It is important, because if they are more mature than you, they are also ready to spend more money than you, then it probably means that your people resources will port from your organization to theirs. Okay, so you want to gather data, probably use consultants like P4PE to help you get data on what you need to do. Oh, the slide has disappeared. But I hope I'm communicating. Please, you can drop your questions for me on the chat. And if you need to stop me at any point, kindly let me know. I had to talk through because I've asked questions at the beginning and I seem not to get answers. So yeah, so as I was saying, while we wait for the slide to come up, you assess your competitors' current digital maturity. What are they doing? What level are they on? Where are they going? What amount of investment are they ready to put into their digital process? Okay. And then the next thing would be your target state. So while you have looked at your current state, you want to also look at your target. Where are we going as per strategy? You know, strategy is this is where we are, this is where we are going. Okay, how do we get to where we are going from where we are? And like I do say in PHRI classes, when we are talking about strategy, you are going to Obalende, you are at Yanoworo. There is water all the way through the lagoon. So how do you get to Obalende from Yanoworo? You need to construct a third mainland bridge. That's your strategy. Okay, so in your digital transformation journey, you are looking at, okay, what is the end goal? Where am I going? When you realize where you are going, that okay, you want to be able to compete with the likes of IBM and things like that, then you create your digital transformation product and process in line with that. So the next thing under target state is to define the desired target operating model. The target that you are trying to achieve, the focus, the vision that you have, what is going to be the operating model of your digital process at that targeted state. And then after that has been defined, you assess the target digital maturity, the target company digital maturity. So this is where we are going. What will be the maturity of what would be the maturity level of our organization in the desired state? So we want to be able to implement an AWS and want to be able to get predictive data, okay, so we are implementing something that looks like an Internet of Things, whereby you are gathering data from everything. How many times your employees use the restroom? How are they sitting? What's their sitting position? When do they go for lunch? And things like that. That is where you are going. Are you matured enough for that level? What kind of data, what kind of insight and foresight can you generate from the data you want to go and start gathering? So you need to check your maturity. Do you even need it? Okay, because I mean, sometimes we just say, oh, we want to do it because it is nice to have. No, but how does it contribute to your operating strategy? How does it contribute to your vision and mission for your organization? Do you need what you are trying to plan? Okay, if you need it, how matured are you to handle it? And you think of maturity in terms of human capability. The people that will operate this, okay, the people that will drive the process, the people that will use the process, the board that you are reporting the process, the progress of the process to, does it make sense to them? What's their capability? How interested are they in it? How will it boost performance? How will it boost productivity? How will it make you competitive in the market? Those are the questions you may want to ask yourself as per maturity. And then you move to taking a gap analysis. Where are we? Where do we want to be? What is the difference between where we are and where we want to be? So you run your gap analysis there. Your gap analysis comes back with a report of your gap. And then you can then develop a roadmap based on the gap that you have seen. So it's just like you are doing an HR audit, for instance. When you are doing an HR audit, you have a goal in mind. Probably it's a compliance audit, it's a payroll audit, or it's an HR department audit. You have a goal in mind, right? And you then come up with your HR audit questionnaire, you run your audit, and from your audit, you are able to see the level of your HR capability. That, okay, on organization development, you are on 17%, on learning and development, you're on 35%, on HR compliance, so we are complying, we are doing well, 80%. On policy and processes, we are not doing so poorly. We are on like 67%. Okay, so 67%, 75%, and all of these percents are things, this define your current state. But where do we want to be? You want your net promoter score to be nothing less than 80%, which means 80% of your employees should be able to recommend you, which means you need better processes. You need to be able to better engage. You need to comply with government directives and statutory provisions. So, and you look at where you need to be and you are like, okay, we must achieve at least 90% in all of our functional areas for us to be able to get to where the business wants us to get to. So if 90% is your desired state, 70% is your current state, it means you have a gap of 20%. And so you create a plan, right? I mean, that's what we do in HRD. You then create a plan to close the gaps. So you create an HR plan or a HR strategy plan to close the gap that, okay, on our learning management system, we need to get to 90%. We are currently on 62%. How do we ensure that we achieve the remaining 28% within the next 3 months? And then you put metrics in place to actually check the effectiveness of your process going forward. So what are the gaps? What are the things that are lacking? You employ design thinking. What are the things that are lacking? What are we not doing right? What do we need to start doing to close out these gaps? So you conduct your gap analysis there, then you create a roadmap. So your roadmap will then be the step-by-step approach to your digital HR journey, to your transformation journey. And the first thing to do, like we have on the framework, is to define key programs to reach your target operating model. You know, in the previous process, we talked about your desired state, your target state. So you need to develop programs, activities, activities or programs that will help you to get to your target state. So like I mentioned LMS a few moments ago, I said your LMS, you want it to operate at 90%. It is currently operating at 62%. You have a 28% gap, kind of. What are the step-by-step things you need to do? What are the programs you need to implement for you to get to your 90%? That is what you are doing on your roadmap. So you can look at it and say, the learning management system is very fantastic, but the dashboard is not reporting the right things. That is number one. Number two, the user interface and user experience is not fantastic enough. When we compare it to what we have on LinkedIn Learning will beat us hands down. So you want to look at, okay, user experience. You want to look at your reporting, right? You want to look at your speed, okay? So you want to increase your bandwidth, right? You want to look at your user interface, your UI, okay? So those are, you then create those programs. So redevelop user interface, redevelop reporting dashboard, redesign seamless registration process. Those are activities that you want to take or you want to embark upon in order for you to get to your 90%. Okay, so for your digital transformation, you need to look at it. Okay, so to transform my payroll process has a lot of seams. How do I transform my payroll process? You look at, okay, I'm currently using Microsoft Excel. I want to be able to fully digitize it, use a software where there is going to be a portal. All employees can, log in their attendance details. They can log in their leave details. They can, what next? Their attendance details, their leave details. They can also put in the performance management system is also linked directly to that, right? You look at all of this and you say, okay, so the first thing to do is to source for vendors. Okay, look for vendors that will help you in your transformation journey. Who are the people that have executed that kind of project before? You invite them for a presentation, they come for presentation, you look at your budget, okay, so that you are not using, you want to buy BMW on a budget of Volkswagen Jetta. You look at your budget, you look at their presentation, and you are able to make a decision. And then after you have gotten your vendor, they've told you what and what they will need to do. you then look at the step-by-step approach of what they need to do to help you to transform your payroll process. They create a portal for you, a payroll portal. All employees will have an account on the payroll portal. Your payroll portal is going to be linked to other HR products that you already have in your organization. You put that in place, right? And then as they are building it, you are testing. You ask employees to test. How is this product? Do you find it easy? Is it seamless? What's your user experience like? Okay. What's the speed, the loading speed, right? And then as HR, you also begin to check the bounce rate. Okay. How long are people spending on these platforms? If they don't like the platform, then they don't stay. No, they just go there 2 minutes, they are done, they get out. But some people are staying 5 minutes. So if someone is staying 5 minutes, also you want to check, is it that it is difficult for them to navigate, or they actually are just exploring, you know? So those are some of the data you may need to gather in order for you to have an understanding of what is happening in your roadmap. And then the next thing is to define the key projects within each program. I think I've spoken to that. What are the key projects within the different activities that you want to embark upon? Like I said, your vendor has told you A, B, and C are the things that we need to do. How do you then plug it in? What plugins do you want to put in place? Are you going to deploy Paystack, for instance, on your payroll system, or you want to link it to your banking application? That could be a project, or you want to build your own payment solution from the scratch. Those are different projects that you may want to embark upon, given the case in point. And then finally, on your roadmap, you define key activities within each project. Let me not waste time on that. The next thing is to then go into implementation. And what you just need to do under implementation is to implement your change. Develop your portal, develop your leave management system, develop your performance management system, bring in user experience into your performance management system. Let your performance management system be linked to your succession plan process. Let it be linked to your learning and development platform, such that immediately after every appraisal cycle, your learning, your learning management system is already suggesting trainings to help boost employees' morale, to help close the performance gaps, skill gaps that have been noticed in the performance management process. Okay, all of those things you begin to implement. You implement your technology change. You are using Ginosco and Sons. You want to go to Seamless HR. You want to go to IBM Watson. You implement the change. You train people on how to use the new technology, which is very important. Train them on how to use the new technology. Give them badges when they pass the test or the exam on the training, right? And then ensure a cultural and people change. Culture change comes with any digital transformation project. Okay, so this is our culture going forward. This is the way we want to do things. This is the way you clock in. This is the way you do things, so that you are able to get real-time data on the back end for all of these processes. And then finally, you monitor. So under monitoring, you monitor change. How are people feeling about the change, the new change? Do they like the change? Are they comfortable using it? Or they just bypass the technology and they still want to go back to the old way? So you monitor it so that when you see lapses, you are able to build upon those lapses, you're able to close the gaps. You monitor the performance of your products, of your digital products. Are they okay? Do you need to improve them? Your IT guys, are they working around the clock to ensure that these projects don't fail? Products don't fail, and things like that. And finally, you ensure continuous improvement. So you don't deploy and stop. You continue to improve upon it, because you want to achieve user experience, you want to achieve fantastic employee experience, you want to remain competitive in the market, and you want to give the best shareholder value to your stakeholders. And then to the final slide, we talk about the pitfalls that you need to look out for in your in your digital transformation project. So what are the key things that can make that can mar your projects, right? What are the things that if you are not careful, if you don't manage them well, they will make your project messy. Number one thing that you may need to look out for is your leadership buy-in. If your leadership does not buy into what you are doing, number one, they won't even give you the budget anyway. Or even if they give you the budget somehow and leadership is not using it. So it's just like you implement a thumb printing system or an attendance log system in your organization. And the leaders of the company come in, they don't sign it, they don't clock it, they just tell the receptionist to swipe the whatever for them or the security guy, and then they move in. The project is failed on arrival. So leadership support is very important. Number two thing, you need to have clear goals. Like I said in the previous slide, you need to understand where you are going. What is the vision of this transformation journey? If you don't have the clear goals of what you want to achieve, your transformation journey may last dent. it may have issues, right, as you progress. Lack of IT skills. If you don't have IT skills, you are not IT savvy, then you may have issues. Your people may have issues implementing that digital transformation. So you may want to check, and that is why I said in the last slide that you need to assess your current state. What are the things you need to put in place? What are your gaps? When you run your gap analysis, you understand that, okay, your personnel have they lack IT skills, and then you're able to send them on training, to close the gaps. Ignoring people. So I have here ignoring customers. You ignore your employees. When you ignore the people that want to use this thing, you don't test with them, you don't allow them to give you feedback. At the end of the day, after you digitize your process, they will tell you to go and be using your process by yourself. They don't buy it. So you don't ignore them. You listen to them. You allow them to be a part of the testing process and all. Next thing is unrealistic deadlines. You want to embark on a digital transformation journey. You are currently using Excel. You want to buy more digital products, of which Excel is a digital product anyway. But you are looking at some software as a service product, seamless kind of solutions. And you said within the next 2 weeks, ceteris paribus, all things will not be equal. And that is just the truth. So you want to look at that to ensure that you give yourself, you employ the right project management approach, of which time management is a key constraint in project management. So you employ the right approach to your digital journey, get the right budget. Always get the right budget and get the support of your finance and your leadership in order for you to be able to implement your project. And then finally, internal resistance. That has to do with ignoring people. When you ignore them, they resist the change. So you don't ignore them, carry your stakeholder along. In any change management process, stakeholder management is very important. Who are the people that are responsible for what function, for what product, for what service? Who are the people that are accountable? Okay? Who are the people that only needs to be carried along, right? You need to understand who these people are and place them rightly on your stakeholder matrix, okay? When you put in all of these processes, you mind the pitfall, you develop your roadmap, you set clear expectations, you are able to analyze your gaps, and you're able to see where your gaps are. You develop a strategy to closing your gaps, and you have the right support within your system. I can tell you, you will have a successful HR digital transformation program. Thank you very much. I will welcome your questions now. Questions, please. Let me see on the chat if there are any.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you very much for this. Please, if you have a question, you can just unmute yourself to ask him your questions, or you can just type at the chat box and he is here to answer your questions.
Questions, please.
Hello, is anyone there? Adipe, Olufunke.
Yeah, thank you very much, Emmanuel. That was a wonderful delivery, and I've really learned a lot. I just have a question to ask you with regards to lack of IT skills, especially in this day and age where everything is going digital and virtual. And in an organization where you have the extremes of the older people, the baby boomer and the millennials, how do you, what will you recommend? How do you think this gap of willingness to even learn is not just that they lack the IT skills now, but somehow they think they're already too old to learn. They think they're, that they might not speak whatever skills they need to acquire, that they might not be able to pick it readily. What would you recommend?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. And that is a very important thing to consider, and it's a brilliant question. I do tell people when you are developing your products, number one, if you remember, I mentioned carry your people along. Let's look at Facebook as a case in point. How many people are on Facebook? Okay, my grandma is not on Facebook, but my dad is on Facebook, right? And at the time he has 2 Facebook accounts, and I'm wondering what Baba is using 2 Facebook accounts for. Why is it that many people, young and old, find themselves on Facebook? Because from the point of registering on Facebook, it's so easy. Am I correct? Now, when you are registering on Facebook, the first time, what do they require from you? They require your name, your email address, probably your gender. I think about 5 questions, and then they ask you to verify from your email. And once you do that, you find yourself in Facebook. And then the next thing, Facebook can then ask you little by little, upload your profile picture. You upload your profile picture, people start liking your profile picture. Add friend, you add a friend. Oh, can you give us more about your about info? Which school did you attend? You put in your school, and immediately you see friends from that school connecting with you, right? What I'm saying in essence is that when the product is seamless and you carry them along in the testing. From the testing already, it's a training ground for every one of them. They see that the user interface is seamless because you are trying to achieve inclusion, not just diversity. So when you're saying diversity, you want all generations of workforce to be able to, to be on board on this. But what about inclusion? You are looking at, okay, 22% of my workforce are baby boomers. Then 17% are Generation X. And then the rest are Generation Y and the Generation Z. So you don't have problem with Generation Y and Z. But what about your Generation X and your baby boomers? You include them in the process. You include them in the design. There is no way they will not buy into what you people sat down together to design. If you understand. So it's just like when we want to come up with our policies. You want to write an employee handbook. You sat down in your office as HR, you put together the entire 70-page handbook, and then you send it to everybody that's okay. MD has signed it. Start signing it and start adopting. You don't include them, involve them in the process. They will kick back. But when you involve them in the process, and which is why in every change management process, like I said earlier, stakeholder management is key. Who are the people that can give you issues in your transformation journey? You include them in the process. You guys sat together, you ate pizza together, you designed it together. It's like managing union in a unionized environment. They will not say they don't know you again when it's time for you to implement, because you did it together. It's our work. I don't know if I answered the question to your satisfaction.
Yeah, thank you. I pick that inclusion. Though I will still love you to have talked about how do you, I mean, my question is actually targeting the older people, the baby boomers who, even if you had included them, they may not readily come to terms with the technology that you're trying to drive because they don't understand it. It looks like Greek to them.
Exactly what I was saying. So how seamless is the technology you are trying to implement? There are some technologies that even me as a millennial, I find them difficult to use because I don't just understand them. They look like Chinese or Japanese to me. It's just too difficult to operate. You need training and refresher and training again for you to be able to understand them. Whereas there are some other technologies that just put in your login details, you see your dashboard, you see your navigation pane. It is very easy and direct. So when you look at the kind of generation of workforce, okay, so it's just like our Windows, our computers. How many people will readily want to use a Mac, for instance? And then how many people want to use an Ubuntu software? If you know Ubuntu software. So people want to relate with Windows 8. I mean, I even remember that when Windows 8 came, people don't like Windows 8. People wanted Windows 7, Windows 7 Ultimate, because it was so easy to use. So Windows 8 was a failed product, if you remember.
Yeah.
And Windows 8 did not stay for so long. It was just maybe a few months or 1 or 2 years. And then Microsoft introduced Windows 10, which is a build-up of Windows 7, you know, and a bit of 8 together. But you realize that after they released Windows 8, many people said they are never going to upgrade their system to Windows 8. They will stay with their Windows 7. Why? Because Windows 7 is easier to use, unlike Windows 8. So when the technology is easy to use, and why will it be easy to use? Because you developed it together, you included them in the development. You already understood that these are the generations of workers in your workplace. And you look at what will be interesting for everybody, a win-win. While some other millennials and Generation Z want to use something more difficult, you want to create a balance. So it's just like your Gmail. Within 2 minutes, you have opened the Gmail, whether you're a millennial or a baby boomer. But how about Yahoo Mail? Is it that easy to open? I mean, I don't even visit Yahoo Mail anymore because the user interface and everything is just somehow. But look at your G Suite, look at your, what's it called? Your Microsoft Outlook. Something very fine, something looking easy to operate. I mean, I believe that people will even choose a Google Mail over an Outlook because of the user interface. So design thinking there will help you to be able to understand what each generation of workforce will want to see in their technology and how does it work for them. Hello? Hello?
We can hear you. Oh, I can hear you. Yes.
I'm not sure Banke can hear me anymore.
Okay. She's still here.
So do we have any other questions? Any other questions? Hello.
Sorry, please, are we getting the slides on our emails?
Gloria will be able to say that. I can't categorically tell you one now, but my Oga at the top will respond to that. Gloria is trying to join now. I think she's having some network issues. Let's give her a minute. I guess the network is quite crappy. Okay. Oh, she's here. Gloria, would participants get the slides they are asking? Hello?
Hello, Mr. Emmanuel. In a question.
Yes, participants are asking if they will get the slides.
Yes, certainly they'll get the slides.
Okay,
Participants will get the slides.
that's fine. So please, do we have any other questions?
None from my end.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you
Nehemiah,
very much.
I think you can take over now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone. Space where we try to go digital. So thank you for listening. Just to keep us abreast, like I said earlier at the start, it's a weekly program. So towards next week, there's something even bigger coming up for HR. So we'll be discussing COVID-19 vaccine.
Hello, Nehemiah, we can't hear you.
So sorry again, everyone. Digital. So towards next week, we have special events. We're going to be discussing vaccination, whether it's mandatory or not, and the guides for employers and HR towards it. So that's community education. Thank you, everyone, for everyone that joined in, and to our facilitator as well. Like our facilitator said, we'll be getting the slides of the session. There's also the recordings will also be available on on subscription. So there's an additional 2,000 naira fee that will be paid if the recording is needed by any of our participants. So thank you very much for joining in. We hope to have you join us again soon in the future.